Max Verstappen, a four-time world champion, is sitting ninth in the championship with just 8 points after 3 races. The man who has dominated Formula One for years is being beaten by the sport's own rulebook. And he is not alone. 20 out of 22 drivers have called these cars broken. One driver nearly died proving it. And the FIA just walked out of an emergency meeting in London with 6 rule fixes on the table and a deadline that expires before Miami on May 3rd. This is not a performance debate anymore. This is a crisis. The 2026 Formula One cars run on a near 50-50 split between the petrol engine and the electric motor. On paper, it was a bold technical vision. On track, it has produced something nobody expected. Cars that slow down by up to 56 km/h mid-straight before the driver even touches the brakes. Here is exactly what happens. The battery depletes while the car is at full throttle. The electric motor cuts power. The engine note fades. And the car behind, still carrying full energy, closes the gap at speeds that have no place in modern racing. Oliver Bearman's 50G crash at Suzuka was caused by exactly this closing speed gap. That single moment turned a rule debate into a safety emergency and forced the FIA to move faster than anyone expected. On top of the crash, Charles Leclerc lost it on team radio at Suzuka over qualifying rules that have turned the fastest session in motorsport into an energy-saving exercise. In China, a Ferrari software glitch tripped an energy limit during a brief throttle lift mid-lap, burning battery in a way neither the driver nor the engineer could explain or predict. A qualifying lap destroyed not by a mistake, but by a software lottery. 3 races was all it took for this to go from a performance complaint to a full-blown safety crisis. On April 9th, the FIA called a Technical Advisory Committee session in London. In the room, technical experts from all 11 teams, every engine manufacturer, and the FIA's single-seater technical team. Deliberately left out, team principals. This was built to be an engineering meeting, not a political one. The official statement that came out promised changes in the area of energy management. The word chosen was tweaks. After a 50G crash and 20 of 22 drivers calling the cars broken, the governing body chose the softest possible language. But behind that careful wording, 6 concrete rule fixes are now on the table, and each one changes who wins and who loses across the entire grid. Fix number 1 targets superclipping. Right now, when a car collects energy at full throttle, the maximum collecting power is capped at 250 kilowatts. That forces a clear slowdown on straights even when the driver is flat out. The plan raises that cap to 350 kilowatts, matching the lift and coast collecting limit. Drivers would no longer need to lift off the throttle to collect energy. The speed gap between a car pushing energy and a car collecting energy shrinks. The exact situation that caused the Bearman crash becomes far less likely. This fix has the broadest support across the grid precisely because the safety argument makes it nearly impossible to block. Fix number 2 goes the other way but reaches the same goal. Instead of making collecting less harmful, this one cuts the peak electric motor power below its current 350 kilowatts. That sounds like it would make the car slower, and it does cut top speed. But the trade-off is that battery energy spreads over longer parts of the straight and does not hit that cliff edge where power suddenly drops. The yo-yo effect, where cars pass each other and then get repassed immediately when energy levels swap, the pattern that has been compared to a video game rather than a Grand Prix, would shrink. Verstappen and Red Bull are pushing hardest for this fix, aligned with their push to reduce the electric sides roll from equal partner back to support system. Fix number 3 goes straight at the recharge limit. The most energy a car can recover per lap was already cut from 9 megajoules to 8 ahead of Suzuka. The plan now is to go further, potentially down to 6 or 7 megajoules. Dropping to 7 mJ alone would add roughly 1 second to lap time. The electric side of the power unit plays a smaller role in overall lap time, but the cars get measurably slower. Mercedes and Ferrari are the strongest voices against this fix because it directly reshuffles the competitive order. The argument coming out of the front-running camps is blunt. Pushing through the recharge cuts would be the same as handing the championship to teams that simply could not adapt. Fix number 4 opens up the active aero rules. Right now, the movable wings switch between high downforce corner mode and low drag straight mode only in FIA-designated zones. The plan would let drivers use straight mode freely in qualifying, similar to the early days of DRS when teams had more freedom over deployment. Free active aero in qualifying would let raw car speed and driver skill matter more. Aston Martin has been the loudest voice for this change. Even the front-running teams support it because qualifying has stopped feeling like qualifying. Fix number 5 cannot happen this season. Raising the petrol engine's power share through higher fuel flow rates requires changing the physical hardware of a sealed power unit, hardware that was locked in before the season started. But this fix is already being set up for 2027. If the electric side of the power split is the root cause of the racing problem, giving the petrol engine more power is the most direct long-term answer. It does not fix 2026, but it tells every manufacturer exactly where the rules are heading. Fix number 6 is about complexity. The current rulebook has software rules that control when and how power units switch between pushing and collecting energy. The Ferrari China incident is Exhibit A. Stripping out the complexity would give drivers more direct control over their energy and bring qualifying back to what it is supposed to be. The reigning world champion at McLaren has called this the top priority. The best driver in the best car should win, not the team with the best software. Now, knowing what the fixes are is one thing. Getting them through the political machine of Formula One is something else entirely. Mercedes has won all 3 opening races and leads the Constructors' Championship by 45 points. Their entire power unit and car architecture is built for the current energy management system. Any real shift in power limits or recharge caps could wipe out months of engineering work overnight. The line from the Silver Arrows camp has been consistent. Red Bull's terrible 2026 machine is making the anger worse rather than the rules themselves. When you are winning every race and leading the standings, the rules feel perfectly fine. When you are sitting 9th with 8 points, they feel broken. Ferrari sits in the same corner. Fast and competitive, their internal calculation is simple. Every rule change helps someone and hurts someone else. The winners want nothing to move. The losers want everything torn up. On the other side, Haas, whose driver suffered the 50G crash, has pushed hardest for urgent change. The Grand Prix Drivers Association has warned openly that some teams will fight real change because they have competitive interests dressed up as principle. McLaren, struggling on pace, has kept its public position focused entirely on safety. The fact that McLaren predicted this exact crash scenario during pre-season testing gives their position a weight that goes beyond wanting a faster car. Then there is the manufacturer wall that nobody can get around, at least not this season. Audi entered Formula One because of the electric power focus in the 2026 rules. Honda came back as a standalone maker for the same reason. Ford joined with Red Bull partly on the promise of a 50-50 power split that would showcase electric technology. These are multi-billion-dollar bets tied to the current formula staying mostly intact. Pulling the rules back toward engine power blows up the entire sales pitch that brought these manufacturers into the sport. Ford has already pushed back hard on any significant changes ahead of the vote. That kind of corporate pressure matters because without manufacturer support, any rule change hits a wall at the highest levels. Verstappen has gone furthest among the drivers. Reports from Dutch media indicate he is genuinely considering walking away or taking a year off at the end of the season if the rules do not change in a meaningful way. His Red Bull contract contains a performance clause that could allow him to leave early. That is not a bargaining move. That is a 4-time world champion truly weighing whether the sport he has owned for years is still worth it. His position on the fixes is clear: cut the electric power, cut the recharge limits, and pull Formula One back from what he has called in multiple interviews this season feeling too close to Formula E. The reigning world champion at McLaren is focused on a different priority. The software complexity is what creates the chaos during qualifying. The energy management system has been called fake racing by drivers this season, and the case is simple. The best driver in the best car should win, not the team with the best software. Lewis Hamilton remains the strongest voice in favor of the new formula, seeing the back-and-forth overtaking as real racing. But even that support carries an asterisk. The power system is a letdown. Ferrari is fast. Hamilton is fighting for wins. His position is complicated by reality. The timeline is where the pressure becomes real. April 15th sets the legal path for mid-season rule changes. April 16th brings a follow-up technical session with simulation data from all teams. April 20th is the vote. Team principals, FIA leaders, Formula One management, and all manufacturer representatives in one room. A digital vote follows within days, then a formal World Motorsport Council sign-off, all aimed at going live before Miami on May 3rd. The last time Formula One attempted mid-season changes this significant was 2021, when floor rule changes took months of talks and still led to legal threats from several teams. This process is squeezing all of that into less than 2 weeks, with the added weight of a safety crisis that has made doing nothing impossible to defend. The fixes with the widest support, the super clipping boost and the software cleanup, are most likely to pass because they address safety without sharply changing who is fast. The active aero change for qualifying is gaining ground because even front-running teams want qualifying to feel like qualifying again. The recharge limit cuts face the hardest political fight. The fuel flow boost is almost certainly pushed to 2027. The most probable outcome is a middle ground package, enough to visibly address safety, not enough to fully reset the competitive order. If the April 20th vote delivers nothing meaningful, the Miami Grand Prix runs under the same rules that produced the Bearman crash. The season then moves toward Monaco, Baku, and Las Vegas, street circuits lined with concrete walls, where those closing speed gaps become far more dangerous. Verstappen's retirement talk moves from a rumor to a real possibility before the summer break. Losing a 4-time world champion at the peak of his career over a rule fight would be the most damaging blow to Formula One since the breakaway threat of the early 2000s. The FIA's own internal position points to a growing admission that the 50-50 power split may have been the wrong call, but saying that openly would undermine the manufacturer agreements that took years to construct. So the language stays soft. Tweaks. Fine-tuning. Positive talks. Meanwhile, the drivers are saying the cars are broken. One of them nearly died proving it. And a 4-time world champion is ready to walk away if nothing changes. The April 20th vote will decide which fixes survive the political process. The Miami Grand Prix on May 3rd will be the first race where new rules could take effect. And Max Verstappen, sitting 9th in a championship he has won 4 times, is waiting to see whether the sport he has owned for years is willing to admit it got it wrong.